Hey everybody, my name is Kieran Hunter. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk about twin flames and what the purpose of twin flame relationship is, which might trigger some people who think that it's a happy fairy tale ending, and it isn't. It's actually quite painful. So I'll get right into it. The first point that I wrote down here is self-love, which is probably the only one that actually truly matters, and everything else from it that I've written down kind of just stems from that. But obviously I have to start with the most important one, and again, that's self-love. What a twin flame relationship will do is it'll force you to look at yourself on the inside and on the outside too, but it'll take some part of you and it will change it. It will show you through a continuous amount of triggering blockages, boundaries, things within yourself, and it will inflame them. It will show you parts of yourself that you might otherwise feel are pathetic or weak, the parts of yourself that are like your inner child that you might talk to in a negative way, the shadow self, the parts of you that you don't necessarily like or would like other people to see. And so that's really what it does, is it forces you to look at those things. And inside your head, when you go through this, you'll start to see that you can't actually do anything in your life that you want to do if you have these particular blocks. And so eventually there becomes a point on this journey where you have two options, two roads. You can either learn how to love yourself, or you can basically continue to stay in the dark. You can even commit suicide. You can even, just as a metaphor, effectively give up on your own dreams. But I've never met a twin flame that's done that. Every single one of them goes through the pain. Every single one of them eventually comes out of their own ego, because the most important lesson that you can't, and eventually you don't want to forget, is to love yourself. And it'll force you to love yourself, like in ways that you never even thought that you could love yourself, doing things that you never thought you would be doing, like me trying to make YouTube videos, or in my spare time trying to do creative hobbies and stuff that are trying to propel me forward in my life, as well as give me personal satisfaction, things that I never thought I could do if I hadn't met my twin flame. Because even if we're in separation, the fact that meeting her was able to unlock something within my heart, even if I had to do it all on my own, that's a super important it's a super important message that's being sent to you from the universe. And loving yourself is the most important thing you can ever do for yourself, and honestly for other people. Because as much as you probably want to help others and be this inspirational hero to maybe your family or your close friends, or even to yourself, you first need to learn how to love yourself. Otherwise, your actions keep stumbling. And of course, if you don't know how to love yourself, you often blame yourself much more than other people might even be holding you accountable for, right? So self-love is definitely number one, most important thing you can do for yourself, and the most important thing that a twin flame relationship ever truly teaches you. The second thing I put is healing. So again, it comes back from self-love, but healing is a huge important factor of a twin flame relationship. So basically what it'll do, is what I wrote down here, is it'll heal your past life karma, and the karma that you're going through currently, in forms of deep fears and outdated belief systems. And so this is very much true for me and many of the twin flames that I've talked about. Meeting a twin flame will pretty much take up any fears that you may have, deep fears, and some of them are deep, and bring them up to the surface for you to deal with. And of course, when they first come, nobody wants to deal with them. Who would? I didn't. I still don't. But eventually, you start to face them, because you get tired, and the more you learn to love yourself, the more you realize that the things you're afraid of when you were 5 don't actually have to define you anymore, because you have a life that you think is worth living. And the life that you thought that you had, or the person that you think that you were, doesn't actually exist anymore, and it was never actually real. So twin flame relationship heals that. It heals the things that you think about yourself and about the world that just aren't true. And you don't need the twin flame in your life to actually do that to you. Upon meeting them, it eventually will happen, and you just start to heal these aspects of yourself. Maybe you have addictions, the belief systems for why you have these addictions, why you need them, codependency, all the things that that are holding you back, not just with your twin, but in your own life, with previous relationships, with current relationships, with future ones that you may want. It does a lot of healing. It forces a lot of healing for you to do on your own. And in doing so, of course, is self-love. It's an action that you're taking to better yourself, which will in turn better the relationship that you have with your twin, or at least in the 5D, your feelings about them, and of course, everybody else in your life, future, present, and, well, that's all that there is, really, if we're going to go forward, right? So, number 3, which I wrote down, was finding your true life purpose. And this couldn't be more true for, I think, most people that are even spiritually awakened. Is the whole point really is defining what it is exactly that you're here to do. What it is that fulfills you on a deep, emotional, spiritual level. Something that you really feel like, you know what, I think I'm making a difference, at least to myself, and that's important enough for me, finally, in my life, right? So it forces you to find the destiny, find something that you're actually meant to be doing. Something that you probably always wanted to do, but never really thought about it too much, either because it didn't fit in with what you think society would have liked, or it was too hard, or maybe you had it when you were a kid and you forgot about it. But eventually it comes back. For me, it was music, or it is music, I should say. I've always loved singing, making music, creating it, making playlists on my own. It was the most spiritual way of relaxing to me. It was listening to music where I could just escape. It was extremely cheap vacation music, assuming that you don't pay for it like I do. But anyway, finding that was my true life purpose. It doesn't necessarily mean that your life purpose is always the same, or that your life mission is the same as your life purpose, but you do find something of value for your career, for your life, after meeting your twin flame. And so I'm a very creative person. I do writing, and eventually, after meeting my twin flame, I did music, and I never even had an inkling to do anything like that until I met my twin flame, right? So this is in various ways. Intuition will lead you there. Synchronicities, coincidences, signs, things that eventually just you can't ignore anymore, and it'll pull you onto a path, and you don't really know where the path is taking you, but you'll look back in hindsight and wonder where it all started. You'll wonder exactly, when the hell did I become interested in this? When did this happen? And you'll notice that it turns out it happened maybe a couple weeks, couple months after meeting your twin flame, right? So number 4 is I put growth, spiritual growth, emotional growth, physical growth, basically your ascension, a spiritual awakening. For me, I was never spiritual in my life. Mostly, I was an atheist, really. I was raised Catholic, found religion to be hypocritical often, didn't like it, didn't like what it represented, still don't really, but I'm a spiritual person now. As far as twin flames go, after meeting my twin flame, I was already into spirituality a bit. I was getting there. I'd already had my spiritual awakening after a relationship that was particularly heartbreaking with a narcissist, and that really propelled me forward into myself, into learning about what deeper truth meant. And eventually I met my twin flame, and after meeting her, I expanded really quickly and extremely. And I learned things like I never thought would exist: the name of my soul, guardian angels, the name of my guardian angels, the name of spirit guides. I was meditating a lot, doing all these things that I thought were really, silly, or that I thought, maybe I'm insane. These don't really make too much sense. But all the coincidences and synchronicities, they couldn't be ignored, at least not anymore. So meeting a twin flame will propel you in some way, your growth. unlike with a karmic, karmic might not ever fix all your problems, um, the ones that you perceive to have, that help heal them. But a twin flame will definitely put you into a position where you are grown, where you have ascended, where you are ascending, where you keep going forward. It's possibly the most beautiful thing in hindsight is that growth. That's because it's one of those things that you don't ever appreciate when it's happening to you, because it's extremely painful to have to give up something that you've identified with, like an addiction. Like if you are struggling with food, that's one of the things that I definitely struggle with. I've had addictions in my life that I've given up almost overnight, that other people struggle with for years and even die from. But food is just something that's ingrained into me because it was the way that I was raised. It was the way that things were treated as rewards for me, or learning to associate food with entertainment. How most of us just can't sit and watch a movie or a TV show without eating something. Or every time I'm upset, not so much anymore, but definitely before a twin flame relationship, I wasn't even aware of this, is that every time I was upset, I would eat. I never really thought about it like that. I could think about it logically, but I never truly understood the meaning behind what it meant to actually to eat your feelings away. And it's, you start to look at it as like an inner child. It's like, well, when your kid's upset and you don't want, and you don't feel like talking to them, which is what happened to me as a child, what you would do is you give them like an ice cream sandwich or something, and you give them food, and you say, you know what, here's your parent, here's your emotional security, is this food. And so you learn to rely on that through conditioning, right? So meeting a twin flame forces that basically out of you, forces you to look at it, and you heal it, because once you know what it is, you can only hold on to it for so long before it's gone, because you've been awakened. You're too smart, really, if you're going good. You can't do it anymore. You can't keep doing the same stuff, and eventually you don't. So that's just an aspect of physical. Of course, spiritual. It'll make you ascend. It'll make you know yourself more, and you'll have this deep desire to know exactly what it is about you that matters, the real part. You start to look at the world around you, the physical, and you start to go, this isn't real. This isn't who I am. None of this is going to fulfill me anymore. So you start looking towards yourself. You start meditating more. Maybe you get into different sorts of things. Not everybody has the same spiritual attachments, let's say. Maybe attachments isn't a good word, but the same way of expressing themselves, probably a better way of putting it. Some people don't like crystals. I happen to like crystals. I have something right here. It's like a little tree. It just actually stabbed my thumb. So I possibly don't like crystals anymore. That kind of hurt. That's going to suck. But I don't like blood very much. But that's some karma stuff right there. Other people, they like to read a lot about spirituality. It's another thing I like doing. Like people like reading Eckhart Tolle. Basically, you're just drawn to doing different things that might interest you, magic, whatever it is. Maybe you stumble across an article about star seeds, and you go, oh shit, my whole life's been figured out. I'm a star seed. And you start going down that rabbit hole or whatever, right? So all these things are there after you meet a twin flame to help you grow, right? And again, form of self-love, right? Growth is never a form of self-hate. It's always something positive in the end, right? So number 5, which I put, was you learn unconditional love. And this is a hugely important aspect of twin flame relationship, is unconditional love, and something that most humans definitely struggle with doing. I definitely struggle with doing it, either for myself or the person who cuts me off at a red light, right? It's a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing especially when you look at it in an aspect with your twin, because twin is not going to necessarily be there for you. They're not going to give you what you think that you want. Like if you think that they're going to bring you happiness, it's not going to happen. They're not going to give you the happiness that you think that you need from them. And eventually you do learn that you don't need it from them at all, because the type of unconditional love that they've given you is deeper than what their mind can perceive. and almost deeper than what you can perceive at a certain point of your journey, because they're doing all these things just by entering your life. Just being in your life at some point, they have now forced you to grow, to love yourself, to become more of who you are. And that is truly unconditional love. And it's just like that saying that if you love something, you set it free. And inevitably there becomes points in your twin flame journey where you have to let go of your twin and let them do their own thing, let them grow, let them heal, just as you have to do it for yourself. And that's a choice that you make. And unconditional love really is a choice. And it's something that becomes easier the more that you love yourself, because the more that you love yourself, the more that you find it easier to forgive yourself, and the more that you find it easier to do both those things, of course, naturally what follows is being able to love others and forgive others more unconditionally. It doesn't mean that you have those people in your life. It doesn't mean that you take people back who hurt you. It means that you realize that everything is an extension from your own self, from your own soul, all of it with an intention of helping you heal, helping you grow. You know, somebody breaks your heart, it isn't a slight from the universe, even though it can feel like that. And I'm sure at times you have to go through that, of course. But it's something that is there to teach you more about yourself, that you signed up for, something that you did as a soul, your higher self, put there for you. And it's the same thing with a twin flame relationship. It's not there to hurt you. It will hurt you and you will suffer. But the ultimate goal, if you've been on the journey long enough, you'll understand, is not actually to make you hate them or yourself or the universe. It's there to do quite the opposite. It's there for you to love yourself unconditionally. And you apply the same thing to your twin. And if you do have a twin flame, you probably already do love them unconditionally. It's just hard for your mind to perceive it that way, but you're thinking about them every day, no matter what they do. You're always forgiving of them, and it's a whole pattern, and it's just this love that's there that you can't actually get rid of. It's just a door that it's been opened and there's no closing it anymore. But you do have that residual pain, and that's the stuff that is there, the attachment. That's always what's there to be healed, and everybody has it, not just twin flames, you know, people with soulmate relationships. Everybody's relationships are technically there to help them in some way. Some of them are extremely positive, some of them are negative, some of them are a mix, some, you know, are just people that enter your life for a day. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You really can't control any of that stuff. But again, get back on track. These are all purposes of what a twin flame will do to you. And if you notice, again, you know, the self-love, the healing, the finding your true life purpose, the growth, the learning unconditional love, removing your boundaries, your blockages, the triggering that a twin flame will do, the expansion, all of that stuff, it comes to unconditional love. It comes to self-love, because all of those things are for you. All of those things are for you to grow, for you to find out who you really are, for you to master this particular life, for you to really come into your own power, your true power, not confidence that comes from impotence, confidence that comes from a truth, a deeper knowledge of who you are, something that you can actually rely on consistently no matter what happens to you, so that no matter where you find out or find yourself in life, either in a great circumstance or a pretty bad circumstance, you'll be okay, because you can rely on something that you know to be true. And that is, of course, your soul. And that's really what a twin flame relationship is about, self-love. What are you self-loving? What is it that you're loving? You're loving yourself. You're loving your soul. You're loving who you really are. And that is incredibly deep, incredibly powerful. And that's what a twin flame does, absolutely and thoroughly. So probably make some more videos on that at a later date. But for now, I think that covers it all. Kind of ran longer than I wanted to. You know, because who the hell has 20 minutes? I don't know, not me. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys when I do.